Okay. Hello, hello, hello. I believe we are live. The first time in a couple of weeks. Wow, how long has it been? I guess not quite 2 weeks, but it'll definitely be 2 weeks as of Sunday. Yeah. Um, Gosh, I've been keeping busy turning away from microphones when people are trying to listen to me talk. um, yeah, I've been out visiting friends, family the last few days, and it's been nice. It's been rejuvenating. Nice reconnection happening, and yeah, it's good to be getting back to normal. Things have been very strange for me for a while, but increasingly over the last few weeks, I've been able to get more and more of a sense of a familiarity that has been missing in a number of ways for a while. I also just love this time of year, March into April, the lengthening days, the mild temperatures, or at least mildish. They're kind of all over the place right now, but for me, I tend to carry a certain underlying sense of hope and optimism and possibility. And so it's nice to be in that place. It's not always a given that I feel that way, but I do for sure right now. So yeah, let's see what's new here musically since I checked in last. The main thing that I want to be playing around with tonight is an update to my speaker cabinet. As a matter of fact, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to use my iPhone as a continuity camera, and this way you can actually see what I'm talking about. Here we go. Alright, so this over here, I'm going to face the microphone so you can actually continue to hear me talking. Yeah, this is my my main speaker cabinet over here. It's got 2 speakers in it. And normally, the speaker cabinet, you'd only be able to plug one amplifier into. But, gosh, this is hard to do looking over here. Just so y'all can see this, how maddening it is, you cannot see anything on the iPhone screen itself when it's in this continuity mode. So I'm actually having to look over here to the computer to see what the hell I'm looking at. See, yeah, now you can see that in playback. Well, at least I'm seeing it on a delay on my side. But let me try and just aim this in a way where you can actually see what the hell I'm talking about. This is such a narrow field of view on this camera. Yeah, okay, this is not working at all. I can't. This is actually making it less clear. So I'm just going to go back to where I was originally set up and just talk about it from there. I'm going to have to reset that camera too. Make sure it's kind of where I can see what I want to see. This is great entertainment, people. All right. Gosh, that's a horrible angle. If I can give advice to you all, never try to produce your own show. My God. Okay. I'm just going to describe this in general terms instead of, actually, let's hop over here. Yeah, okay. I need to stop watching myself on delay. One of these days I'll do a version of this where you kind of see everything that I'm looking at to tie this whole thing together. But now, that's backwards. I want the live stream feed over there. Here we go. All right, this is a lot less confusing now that I'm actually looking at what you all are. What I'm doing here is I've got this extra functionality added to my speakers where instead of the speaker box being dedicated to one input, one signal basically, you can actually run two separate things into it for each speaker. Normally, those speakers would be tied together, and so this allows me to use them together or split apart. And that is fun to do when you actually have multiple amplifiers, which is kind of what I'm working towards. A lot of people will use a single amplifier, and they'll use their foot switches, things like that, to manipulate the sound, especially for things like distortion, overdrive. And for me, I guess since I was a senior in high school, when I first got exposed to like a really like a high gain tube amplifier, like a Marshall, I really formed an opinion upon what feels inspiring to play versus what doesn't feel inspiring to play. And I as soon as I had the chance to control the distortion from the amplifier instead of like a box that kind of simulated it, there was just no going back. And it took a long time for me to actually piece together exactly why I was feeling the way that I was feeling about this stuff. But it's just like, it's not necessarily something that you as an audience member would be able to hear, but it's the kind of thing where me as a player, or a player in general, feels like there's so much more possibility. If I can give you like a textural description, it's like having like a piece of Play-Doh that has so much more like life or response, as opposed to just something that just sort of snaps into place. It doesn't have a lot of pliability. When you have the distortion that's coming from a tube amplifier like this, it's just a night and day difference. And you can do things that will allow you to have very nuanced levels of control. And anyway, what I'm working towards with this is that for me, the goal has been to basically, instead of having a distortion that switches on, I've decided from a strategic standpoint that it makes the most sense for me to do a bi-amping situation, which is basically two different amplifiers for the two different tasks. One of them being just the straight, pure, clean, undistorted presentation of the guitar sound, and then the separate unit that is dedicated for the purpose of that distortion. And that probably sounds really gratuitous if you aren't a guitar player, or if you're not familiar with that kind of thing. But rest assured that is actually, as I've learned over time, the pretty common in the way that if you see any kind of major, touring act that's coming through, the guitar player is probably going to be doing something similar to that, where there will be multiple amplifiers that are involved, and they've got a whole team of people that they're working with to make that whole system, that whole network, feasible. So that's part of what I was kind of complaining about there at the beginning, about never try to produce your own show, because I'm dealing with the audiovisual routing of the amplifiers, and also trying to be entertaining and get all the stuff going. So it's a lot. But hey, I'm not here to complain about that or gripe about that. I'm loving doing that. I'm just over explaining, which is what I do. And if you know me, then I think maybe you're on board for that kind of thing. Oh yeah, back to the point with that. By the way, if it's not obvious, I'm very, very ADHD. It's what I do. And so I'm explaining the idea that I need to have, or prefer to have, these two separate lines of amplification to achieve these core regular needs of being a guitar player: clean sounds and distorted sounds, pure sounds, whatever the term is that makes the most sense to you. But that's what I've been working towards. So it's only been very, very recently, as in the last few months, where I've made the commitment to go that direction with my setup. and that has involved getting a couple of pieces of equipment that will facilitate that, like a foot switch that will select different lines. I can send my guitar signal to one amplifier, to the other amplifier, or to both at the same time. That's what you need to have to be able to make this whole biamping situation work. So that's the first piece that I've added to the equation. And initially, it was just the strangest damn thing that when I bought it, new from the manufacturer, it just had one of those run of the mill kinds of manufacturing errors where instead of it being an A or B or A and B box, it was just B on all the time. You couldn't turn the B off. So it wasn't really doing what I needed it to do. So thankfully I went back to the folks that I bought it from, and they just got it swapped out and brought back in for me. And so now I've got a functioning one. So that's the first piece. But what I'm going towards, where I was first speaking, has to do with the speaker cabinet, and that's the sort of the more unique modification here, because like I was saying and going all over the place about earlier, normally a guitar cabinet, an enclosure, all of the speakers that are inside of it, whether it's one speaker, two speakers, four speakers, however many that are in there, they're going to be dedicated to the same signal that's going through it. But in this case, I have a speaker enclosure that has two speakers, but I can send a distinct signal to each one of those. So that tied together with the capability of splitting, my guitar signal from, clean amp to distorted amp, means that I can actually use that single speaker enclosure, dedicating and split its internal speakers between those two amps. And you might say, okay, great, why? And I don't know exactly, but I have some ideas about why I think it might be cool to do. One of them has to do with streamlining the microphone setup. So I'm in a relatively small space here. I would consider this like basically I'm kind of set up in what would be the control room, but it's really mostly the live room too. If I was working with a band, I would make some changes here and say I would move the amplifiers, separate them into different spaces, and I would actually have people kind of stratified between these levels here, and would create like a visual feed between them. But when I'm in here, it's a limited amount of space, so any little bit that I can save, the better. And that's true as a rule. The less space that you can take up with your gear, it probably makes you easier to work with, more professional. And so being able to do more, to biamp basically, but through a individual cabinet as opposed to having to mic up two cabinets, there's economical value to that. I think. I haven't quite, that's what I'm testing here to see if it really does, come out that way. But that's at least the theory. In terms of just the space, the ergonomics of why you'd want to do that. But then the next level beyond that kind of gets into sort of like the just like sound laboratory thing, which is really what I'm all about. And the idea is that, normally a speaker cabinet, an amplifier, if it's say a combo amplifier, that means it's going to have the amplifying electronics and the speaker array all within one unit. So that's kind of going to have, most of the time, a predefined sense of sound based upon the speakers that are supplied to it. Or if you have a head amplifier, which I've got one of those, that's the individual unit where you're always just going to be pairing it with an external speaker array. And what I like about this is that I'm working here with a clean amplifier that's a combo amp. You can see it right over my shoulder here. Yeah, I'm going to move this way so you can see it. this amplifier that's right down here. It's called a Fender Twin Reverb. It's really popular for every damn thing. It's a really common amplifier, but they're particularly popular with country music, and so like you see there, you've got the array of the knobs, all electronic crap along the top, and then you can kind of guesstimate with your mind underneath the cloth behind there. You've got the speakers, but if you want to kind of break apart the idea of what the amplifier is from what the speakers that it happens to be paired to, then you start to have a much more kind of interesting array of things to explore, at least for me. Because I grew up being very used to the idea of this amplifier, the Twin, sounding like those speakers. And it's only been gradually over time that I learned to think of it in terms of, well, those are really two discrete stages. And so what is the amplifier's characteristic independent of the speakers that it's plugged into? Happens to be mated with, paired with, whatever you want to call it. So exploring amplifiers through different speakers, that's, to me, is a thing of interest and a thing of value. And that sometimes, that can be the entire, a fun hunt right there. That sometimes it's kind of a matter of each piece of it can be like, I love the sound of a twin reverb, but right now I want to use one of these warehouse Alnicos, or in a different case, you want to plug it up to a smaller speaker, the 10-inch that's in there, and see what that does, and it gives more possibility and more nuance. So to me, being able to take these two separate amplifiers that are serving the clean and the distortion role, to be able to present them on like an equivalent platform, so to speak, in terms of running them through the same speaker in each case, that levels the playing field a little bit more. And so when I get to do that, it allows me to have what I would consider to be a little bit more of a one-to-one comparison of what the characteristics of each of those amplifiers are, especially if they're amplifiers that are like combo amps, where the common perception of what their sound is more based upon the speakers that are most frequently paired with them. So that's what I'm playing with tonight. And I took a while getting ready to do this. My original intention to do this was with my Vox amplifier, my V125 Climax, and my Marshall SV20, which is basically a 20-watt version of their most popular, most famous 100-watt amplifier that has been sort of a staple mainstay since the mid-late 60s. But alas, I keep having problems with my Voxes. It's just one issue after the other. I'm not trying to call them cursed or something, but right now it seems to be between both of the units. There have been power tube issues that have been chasing them. My V125 lead is down in the shop right now, and I'm pretty sure that the problem with it is just that the power tubes, which is like a separate stage. There's a preamp stage of tubes, which is a different kind of size caliber, and then the power amp tubes, and that one seems to be having power amp tube issues. Now I think that its twin, the Climax, which is actually on the other side of the wall behind the camera right now in storage. I had to pull it. I really wanted to use it today, but as I continued to test it, it showed more and more signs of breakdown where it shouldn't be breaking down. Like, a certain amount of sound breakdown is something you want,
as a guitar player sometimes. It's like character. But this was not the kind that was, flattering. It was just noisy. So that's why I swapped it out to the Fender. So it took a little while to get things configured and working, but now what I've got dialed in and tested, I'm really excited to share with you because it's the way I've dialed this in and the way I'm going to mostly play it is going to be alternating between just the having the clean amplifier on the Fender. Gosh, I can't point to the right side for some reason. The Fender on as a clean amp, but then instead of just switching that off, I'm actually adding the loud amplifier, the distortion amplifier, as a texture on top of it. And I spent time trying to make them complement one another, and I really like where it's going. I know it's probably gonna be like really over the top, a lot of slop and stuff like that, in terms of just like the how much control there is with the sound. But I think that there's something very nice in it from the little tests that I was doing. So I'm going to be spending time with those. I'm going to be making use of the fact that I can go between clean and distorted to try to give a bit more of like a dynamic performance instead of being kind of stuck in one gear. The last few of these like impromptu sessions that I've done, I've really been sort of stuck in one gear. Like, I'll sit here, I'll talk for 20 minutes, then get lost for another 20 minutes, and then come back and play. And it just, it takes forever to go back and forth. And I could keep going longer if I was able to switch stylistically. So the logistical hurdle to do this biamping thing, I hope you're maybe picking up a little bit of right now. I'm choosing to do things not an easy way, but I really believe that it's going to be what I'm looking for. So that's kind of what these live streams are about right now. I'm just very much workshopping stuff, woodshedding stuff. Anybody that happens to know me that might be curious about what I'm doing, what I'm up to, happy to share all of that, because I really do think that there's some interesting things that are going on here, and I'm getting into a good place in terms of feeling creative with inspiration, the muse coming back, so to kind of be, I guess, cliche about it. But yeah, so that's the main thing that I want to share with you all tonight. So I'm going to take just a quick break here, and I'm going to start getting my guitar set up, and then I'm going to play for a while. So let's see. I'm going to take a 3-minute break to take a bathroom break and get some water, and then I'm going to play and let you all hear a little bit of what I'm talking about. Maybe as I'm getting it set up, I'll also kind of try to demo it a little bit, see if I can do that with the microphone. But the sound levels are so different, that can be really challenging. So anyway, hey, thanks for tuning in. Happy Friday, and I hope you're doing well. I'll be right back. Looking forward to playing here in a second. Thank you so much.
yeah. All right, well, let's get down to it, everybody. Again, happy Friday. I'm going to try to adjust to looking this direction now. Switch up the camera angles a little bit. Gotta keep it engaging. Alright. So, this is my Les Paul. I love this guitar very much. This is the most recent update to it. I've been talking about this a whole lot, but it's this, the Bigsby vibrato arm here. Oh man. I've wanted to have one added to the guitar for a long time, but up until recently, it was kind of a big commitment in terms of, it would mean that they'd have to drill into the top of the guitar to add it. And I don't know if you've noticed, but this is a pretty guitar. So you can probably understand my reticence to do something like that. And I don't know if I'm just like, you know, behind, and maybe this has always been a thing, or if it was it genuinely is a new thing. But I found out recently that they could do it without having to drill into the guitar, non-invasively, totally reversible. It just kind of sits on top of some of the existing mounting hardware. So as soon as I found out about that, and you know, the fact that it's not an exceptionally expensive component, I mean, it's not nothing, but I mean, it's not, you know, like a major overhaul. I just like, God, that's what I've always wanted on the guitar. And then also these little push-pull pots. You can probably hear a little bit of that. Which is just more functionality. That's what I keep talking about here, is we like functionality. And what that does is it adds another layer of configuration to each of the pickups. So it can go from basically like the extremely aggressive high output double sound. This is like, you know, it's basically, there's two elements inside of each of these pickups. And what these do is they actually split, or they deactivate one of the elements there and reduce the output. And you kind of say, why would you want to do that? Well, it makes it sound more like one of these guitars, which you've probably seen. So basically, twang is the answer. And I love it. I've always wished that I could play this guitar with a more like modest kind of drive on an amp, because with these burst buckers, that's the name of the Gibson PAF, patent applied for, whatever you call it, style pickups. Man, they will overwhelm just about anything that you throw them at. And I wanted to treat this like a more delicate guitar, and I got my wish. But that's not what you all came for. Well, maybe you did. Did you come to hear me talk about guitar stuff? just to see me, you know, maybe a little of everything? No, but I really do. I'm really eager to get started playing through the amp, because I'm pretty excited about it. And I think you'll be impressed. Hopefully favorably. So this is the part where it's going to get a little bit logistically complex for me to continue to traditionally host and talk while I'm getting a couple of these pieces ready to go. So if you'll forgive me for being rude, I am going to kill the room mic for now, and but then I'll be getting going with this all this new stuff I've been describing. All right, thanks again for hanging out. Happy Friday.
It's okay. It doesn't all have to seem like magic.
Man, that was fun.
Woo! Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's still a lot of
Sound in the room. So let me adjust that. Okay.
Well, hello, and thanks again for tuning in. I'm Duncan, and my guitar is out of tune. Oh no! So let's do something about that. We do have the technology. Oh no, the police! No, I'm just kidding. They're not here. God, I hope this isn't loud enough to cause a problem. So, on that subject, I've got a pretty good gist of what the sound should be like coming through in the feed, and it probably sounds pretty intense, right? But that's a part of the fun, the benefit of doing this the way that I am, because it's meant to be economical in that regard. It's creating this characteristic of sound at the actual lowest dB level possible, and that's because of the fact that it's being oh, okay, yeah. Anyway, sorry. I've got a short attention span tonight, and forgive me if I lose track of things. Let's see, I was just getting back to stuff. Let's see. Okay, let me see if I can try to incorporate some of this feedback. Let's see.
Yeah. Hey, I'm back. Um, I was actually just responding to a little bit of feedback that I got from a friend of mine about a noise issue. Uh, Jefferson, thank you for the help on that. I'm not sure if I'm getting it exactly right, but I think I know what you're talking about, and I think part of it had to do with the way that my wah pedal was cocked. It creates a lot of intense frequency drive, and so I have to be careful about leaving it in position. Um, Also, you're hearing a lot of buzz right there, right now, and that is just kind of characteristic of the Marshall. Um, that is one of the things that I'm having to negotiate between the clean and the distortion phase, because relatively those would be perceived differently, but yeah, it's kind of tough if you're kind of presenting them right side by side. So I'm recognizing that as as something that I might have to think about this approach to running multiple amplifiers of different characteristics into one column. This could be one of the challenges. So anyway, good stuff. I'm going to get back into it though, and going to play a little bit more now. Hopefully, I'm going to address some of these sound issues.
Wow, that was ridiculous. That was fun. That was silly, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Give me a second to set this up. Phew-wee. It's a loud business, you all. I've got some troubleshooting to do, obviously. I'm going to have to check back at the playback on this and see kind of what's going on with some of that. Thanks again, Jefferson, for your feedback there. I'm probably going to be horrified when I listen back and hear exactly what he's talking about at the timestamp. But hey, I think I'm going to call it a night here for this live stream. You know, I had a blast with this. This is essentially what I just wanted to do. Running experiment of and talk about for a few minutes. Not for a few minutes. It was a long time that I talked. But so far, I like it. I like it a lot. And it can only be improved from here. So, oh gosh, what a great way to spend Friday evening, any evening. I'm real thankful to be, back to my home. I'm thankful for time that I've been able to spend with people that I don't get to see often. Here's to the spirit of connection, to reconnection, and just all the good stuff. Okay. Maybe I'll tune in on Sunday. We'll see how it goes. I don't know if y'all had fun tonight or hated it, whatever. Just let me know, and maybe that'll influence my decision on Sunday. But I think, in all likelihood, I'm probably gonna want to come back and play some more. So y'all can just decide based upon this if it might be a thing that you would enjoy, and if not, I certainly don't hold it against you. But don't be a stranger, and I do hope that you'll continue to stay in touch and tune in. And yeah, thanks for saying hey, and take care.